Hey guys, so I promised I would show you guys the surprise behind me, you probably can see already of what it might be, and to show you the rest of the Baker Creek order that I had got with my berries. So I did mention it, but I'd never said what the free seeds were, so I'll show you guys both of those just here in a sec. Okay, so let's start with back there since it's kind of the elephant in the room. So I've been bugging my husband for a grow light setup for at least a good year now. So he decided to finally get me what's called a shop light. So basically this would be the light that you would see on the ceilings or on tall racks in shop settings, or maybe in like Walmart if you look up. But basically we grabbed some 2x4s. This is all 2x4s that we had already, so even if you were to say buy this and then make it, it's not super expensive, to be honest. So the light itself, it was about $50 for the light, I do believe. I'd have to look back and see how much it was, but I knew it was relatively cheap. And the reason why, and this is a big reason for lots of people, is that it is not a plug-in. Now you're going to be sitting there going, but Shelly, there's clearly a plug right there. Well, yes, there is. This plug here, my husband took an extension cord. Sorry, my brain quit on me. An extension cord. He cut off the end, and then he spliced it in. So underneath here is the ballast for the light, and he spliced it in and hooked everything back up. And while doing so, he put in this little toggle switch here so I can turn the light on and off. And then we just run it up into the closet where we have another extension cord. And I don't really use the closet for a whole heck of a lot, so that's kind of why it's just there. But this stands approximately 3 feet tall, so if I were to stand up next to it, let's see if I can. Okay. So I'm about 5'1", so it stands about right here to me. So about mid height to me. And then what he did, because it comes with screws right here to hold the light little connectors in place, he put machine bolts in there so that way he could hook up the chain, and then we just cut the chain to length, and then he bolted it down with a washer and another little bolt, because there's a bolt underneath here as well with another little washer. And then we took just these regular little hooks that you could use to hang just about anything, and then I screwed it into the wood here. But the actual construction of the wood, it is 4 feet long, 3 feet high. The legs on the bottom, like, yeah, they're a little tweaked because we have the wood for a long time. But the legs on the bottom are a little different than the design that he saw on YouTube, because he looked at on YouTube for a cheap option. Because the light stands we found were for T5s and this is a T8. So we put bracing up there to make it more sturdy and to help separate, because they kept trying to bow on us. So, and then I like the idea of this being down here instead of it just like weird out here is what the original design would have been. So the actual construction of the light, you just take this little S hook that came with the chains, and then you can pull up, unhook it, and then move it link by link, or however many links you need at one time. You can do each corner individually, so they're all set up the same. And then what I have growing so far is I have dark opal basil. That one is, it is called a agritum. It's a little flower. I think it's a little pom-pom style flower, this little guy right here. But these 5 are all the basils that sprouted. They are doing okay. The first set of leaves, so not the true leaves, but those first little leaves, like these aren't true leaves, these are just the first set that come out of the seed. They're starting to kind of shrivel up and die, and I've had issues with temperature as far as whether or not they like the temperature of the light, so that's kind of why I keep them a little bit away from the light, because I've moved this up several times and some of the plants are okay with it, and then some of the plants are doing this. They're a little bit more on the shrivelly side, they're a little bit more just crunchy looking. So I'm trying to keep them as happy as possible. So this is my spaghetti squash, not spaghetti squash. Why do I keep wanting to say it's a spaghetti squash? This is a butternut squash. There's 2 of them. You can see I put multiple seeds in each section of these trays because those were transplanted from that box. So the butternut is got, I do believe 2. I don't see anybody else popping up, so we'll see if anybody else does. This is my cucumbers, and I didn't realize how many seeds I put in here, but there's 4. There's just 1 that hasn't popped up yet, and I'm not sure if it will, but there's 3 for sure right now. This is going to be cantaloupe right here. This is supposed to be a jalapeno. I do believe it's a tam jalapeno. Oops, sorry guys. This is my Sugar Rush peach. Whenever it pops up, I've been having issues with my peppers not wanting to grow, or not wanting to grow sufficiently enough to sustain themselves. I had, I guess, a downy mildew or downy mold issue in another batch, so I wasn't able to keep them. And then for no reason at all, the seed that popped up for the Sugar Rush peach, when it got to a certain height, I would say, about the size of this little tiny tomato down here, the seed just fell off, but it took the head of the plant with it. But it was green. It was really weird. And then this one's going to be my Aunt Molly ground cherries whenever they pop up. And again, I had a whole thing set up where it was just peppers and ground cherries and like some flowers, and they were all supposed to be done at the same time, and something happened with some sort of fuzzy little mildewy stuff, so it's white, looks like fluff. So yeah, they just kind of bit the dust and they're all sad now. I do have issues with like these little random bugs that may or may not be fungal gnats, but they don't seem to be hurting the plants all that much. These guys here, those are supposed to be, what was it? My alyssum. My asters never came up, from what I can tell. It doesn't look like my asters ever came up. And then, so this is alyssum, this is white tomatoes, and this is my sun and moon watermelon. Now these guys, if for any reason they don't make it, I have one sun and moon watermelon that got scattered in the wrong spot, and it's growing just fine outside. So there's those. And then I had them in just these are just muffin containers you get from Walmart. this is where the dark opal was. I just left the dirt in case there was an extra seed or two. Let's open it. So the dark opal was over here. The agartum, I'm gonna call them agartum. These guys. Some of them did this little, like, roddy, I don't know if you can see that very well. Not really. Okay, so some of them have this really dark brown going on with the tips of them, but the stems are perfectly green. And even when I pulled some of them up just to see what was going on, because I had a bunch, they were fine. So I don't get what's going on. And then I have balloon flowers. Looks like one's trying to pop up, but it's just really tiny, so it's really hard to tell. And then I have mint rose agastacia. Yeah, agastacia. So this is supposed to be a type of tea plant. So you can use that in tea, and it's supposed to have a floral taste to it, according to Baker Creek. I don't know. What happened there? Don't know. So I got 1, 2, possibly 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. I think I had 7 plants at one point, so I'm gonna have to move these guys for sure. So I'm just trying to check the stems of them. So yeah, the 2 bigger little green specks, I'm gonna have to move them to their own little pot, but for now they live under here. So I'll just put those there. And I just spritz them down with a water bottle. Oh goodness. Let me set you guys down real quick. Okay. Yeah. And then I have what's supposed to be an eggplant, but I think it has root rot, because I think I tried to keep it watered but overwatered it at the same time. And that happens sometimes, so don't beat yourself up too bad. But for what I said I was going to show you, this is red Malabar spinach right here. It is a vining type of plant, and I saw this on Roots and Refuge and thought it was really neat. This is a spinach substitute in a way. The leaves, you can eat those. They taste like spinach almost, from what I've been told. And I think these have like a little red berry or something that's also edible, or it's a different type that does that. I'm not sure, but let's see. The red Malabar spinach, also called Bacella rubra. Yeah, rubra. It's a heat-loving Asian vine, lovely red stems and delicious succulent leaves, used like spinach. The tender perennial, grown as an annual, is a tropical vine, requires support, moist-rich soil, a very warm temperature to thrive. You want to soak the seeds overnight, plant them in very warm soil. Ample moisture delays flowering. So if you want to keep just the leaves and don't have flowers, you just keep it watered. And then it keeps the leaves to tasting mild. So this plant, I don't know if you've ever had it where like something bolted on you and it changed the flavor. This plant will do the same. So let's see, they sprout in about 14 days at the longest, 7 at the earliest. They like temperatures between 75 and 95. So I would say if you live in my zone, which is zone 9B, that's right now. If you live in a colder zone, that's probably in a month or so for you. They want 1/2 inch depth for sowing. They say to plant these 16 inches apart, so a little over a foot apart. They're not frost hardy, and they need a minimum of 6 to 12 hours of sun. So that's the red Malabar spinach. Each pack comes with a minimum of 35 seeds, so you're guaranteed to get at least 35 of them, and they are $3. And for those who haven't seen the berry video, so the Malabar spinach was one thing that I ordered with the berries that I bought, which are plants, and I had gotten pink lemonade blueberries. So a pink lemonade blueberry is literally a pink blueberry, and those are hard to find sometimes. They like warmer climates, so that it's easier to get them for places that are between, I think, zone 5 to zone 11, but I think you can also grow them in colder climates if you have like a greenhouse situation. I got boysenberries, I got mulberries, the dwarf variety, and they're everbearing for those. And then I got fall golden raspberries. Now, I discovered after planting the raspberries, and I had mentioned it in the video, that they didn't look so great. And I contacted Baker Creek, and they wanted to see photos, so I sent them photos, and they had stated that they're going to get back to me hopefully the next day or so. So that way we could figure out what's going on, because I need to see if they have enough to send me a new plant, or if I'm going to have to get a refund. I requested if they could just exchange the value for a different plant, but they haven't said yes or no yet, so I'm waiting on that. So those ones are the only ones that I'm kind of bummed on. Sorry about that. Phone's going off. But they're also the most expensive, because with the raspberries you get 3 plants, and all 3 of them were just not great. Like, one had leaves that kind of stayed on, but they turned brown. The other ones lost all their branches and leaves, because when they send them to you, they're very much alive. They're not dormant at all. So the mulberries, the boysenberries, and the blueberries, very little damage from what I can tell. I keep wanting to say it was the boysenberry that had what looked like super dry roots, but it did have a very long root, and it was in this little, like, I don't know, 1-inch plug of soil or peat moss. So there could have been like roots in there, but the top was very green. It was very green. So I was very hopeful for that, and they did state that since they guarantee their plants and everything, that let them know in a few weeks if anything's changed or not, and then we'll proceed from there. By that time, more than likely, I'll just get a refund for the rest of them, but we'll see. They do the live plants between March and May. There is a 3-month window, but they go quickly. And then with the Malabar spinach, I have cabbage as a free seed. This is a semi-warm cabbage, but I think I'll just plant it in the fall just to be on the safer side. This is the Nero di Toscana cabbage. It's from Italy, from what I believe. Yep, it's from Italy. So for those who can't understand a word I've said, that is the name of the cabbage there. They do not disclose how many seeds you're guaranteed, the cost of the packet of seeds, or anything like that on the back. It just gives a lot number and a bin number, but that's about it. But you can go onto their website and see how much they would cost. So these are a 60-day variety. They're an heirloom Italian leaf cabbage that dates back to the early 1800s. So if you guys have Italian descent, your grandmother's grandmother's grandmother probably had this in her garden. They're unusual deep black-green leaves that grow about 2 feet long, full of flavor and beautiful. So if you're not a cabbage lover, and I do like cabbage, and these kind of look like kale, but if you're not a cabbage lover and you just want something fun in your garden, give it a try. I mean, it's edible. What's the worst you can do? Try something new. These say that they do prefer cold weather, ample and even moisture. They sow the seeds or set transplant into rich soil. Time planting for a spring or fall harvest. So for me, I'm going to be doing transplants inside, probably about probably when the weather starts to cool back down, so probably September, October or so, depending on how the weather goes. We have had some crazy weather lately. So I'll do a video on all my fall crops that I'm going to do when that time comes, but for now we're enjoying the summertime crops, or I should say springtime crops, but most of these will be done in the summer. So thank you guys for listening, and I know I ramble sometimes, but just a lot of information all at once. So I am enjoying my little light over there. I've had it for, I want to say almost a month now, and they've been doing pretty good. It did take some time for everything to pop up. I did have everything originally started with this light here, which is just a desk lamp with an LED. Those are fluorescent bulbs. They are not LEDs, but because everyone's going away from fluorescence, I'm probably going to have to eventually switch to LEDs. But yeah, and oh, just for anyone who's asking or wants to know, I do have the diffusion cover still on the light. So if you're having issues like I am with the light burning your plants or making your plants just act funny, and they're acting like there's too much light, even with the diffusion, just raise it up a little bit. Or if you can't raise the light because of how you set it up, just lower your plant. And if you can't do either, then try adding like an extra layer of something that diffuses the light more, so that way maybe they can have a little partial shade or something like that. I know seedlings can be funny, especially when they get transplanted from one section to another, but they were getting too big for their box, so I had to do something. And I'm so glad I put the seeds in the little trays that I did, because that squash, man, it's just huge. Well, anyways, guys, I'm going to get off here, and I will see you on the next video. So like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Bye.